Hello, and welcome to Living Beyond Limits. I am Reverend Jennifer Spear, and we are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living. I am so glad that you've joined us here today for this online service. When we meet in person on a Sunday morning, one of the first things that we do is say good morning to the people that are sitting near us. And what really happens is every person ends up getting out of their chair and having to connect and say hi to and love up each one of the people that's there, not just the people that they're sitting next to, even though that's what I say. And it actually becomes this big love fest. And I think it's one of our favorite things that we do when we're together. And so since we aren't together physically today, what I invite you to do is to maybe just close your eyes for a moment and to imagine some of those people that you see on a Sunday morning. And if you don't attend our Sunday services, to just hold in your mind's eye some of the people that you love and care about. And to right now send them some of your love. To imagine your love wrapping itself around them like a warm blanket. To see them standing in all their power, in all their magnificence, as the wholeness that they are. And to know that as you do that, you are actually sending that person a blessing. Because Spirit really doesn't speak in words. Spirit speaks in energy. And that energy is a blessing. And to know also that as somebody is watching this video, the chances are somebody else is doing that for you, sending you their love and that blessing. And what a wonderful thing it is to get to participate in blessing each other. For what we put our attention on and what we send our good energy to expands. And so as we begin our service, I'm going to invite our practitioner, Ray Bunch, to come forward. He's going to lead us in an evocation as we begin to evoke the awareness of the presence of Spirit that is already fully present and right where we are at every single moment, and do a contemplative reading for us. And so what I invite you to do right now is to begin to kind of settle into yourself, to let go of the busyness of the day or the craziness of this week, and to just allow yourself to kind of sink into your own beingness and to slow down and to become present.
I invite you to join me in this invocation. As we come to this place of quietness, feel your feet on the ground. Become aware of what's supporting you right now, where you're at in the physical world. All the good that is around you. The safety that you feel. And as we turn within, we come to that place of absolute knowingness, of certainty, that there is a power. And His power is love. His power is good. His power is called by many, many names. It is the Creator, the intelligence, and the all that is. Each and every one of us are created from it. and we allow it to flow in us and through us. As we come to this time, this very place in our lives where we know that this energy and source is for us. And anytime we stop, we can lean into this. Anytime we get knocked off center, we can find our way back. And these are really good times to practice that practice. So I bless this service. I bless this time together. I bless Reverend Jennifer and all the studying and work that she does to create this opening for Spirit to speak through her to us so we can hear it. Listen with your ears and your heart today. Pay attention to what's being said. Pay attention to how it strikes your emotional body, not your intellectual body. Pay attention to that. And open into the blessings of this service and the blessings of this time together as I bless you and everyone on planet Earth. And I mean all of them. And I simply say, thank you, God. And so it is. I'm pretty emotional today, and so that's just the way it's going to be. A lot of things have happened in the last few days. It made a big difference to me in my life. And luckily I have a lot of tools that I can use to help myself when it happens. And I belonged to an organization years ago that was put together by the name of a man by the name of Ken Kais. And the foundation was actually called Living Love. And I can remember back in the 70s when I first got involved with that, how hokey that sounded and how immature and silly it was. And Ken always got us to sing these really goofy songs, and they didn't make any sense to me at the time. But now, since 1975 to here, I find that they're still in my life a lot of times. And I was very upset, and I couldn't figure out why I was so upset. I mean, I was really upset. And I heard myself say, I start to sing this song, and the name of it is I Take Responsibility. And I'm not going to sing the song for you, but I'm going to tell you the phrase that jumped out at me that really I needed to hear. And so the phrase is whatever they call that. The part of the song that spoke to me the most was, when I find that I'm afraid of you, and I'm really scared of what you might do, I'm feeling mighty helpless too. I'm feeling mighty helpless too. And then the chorus comes in. I take responsibility for the way I feel because I create the experience that I take as real. And when I stop and take responsibility for the way I feel, I turn off all the us and others and all the what's going on and all the fight back, and I realize that there's a power within inside of me that is so much greater than anything that's outside of me. And what I need to do is reassociate myself with that power, which is often referred to as God. It's often referred to as the creative force. I call it the living spirit that lives within inside of me. So I just say, it's hard for me to admit when I'm afraid of you, and I can get really crazy trying to not say that. But this had really, I was allowing it to really scare me a lot. So I've opened up to this song, and I'm glad that I know it by heart. And I plan on continuing to sing that when I find that I'm afraid of you, And I'm scared of what you might do. And I'm feeling mighty helpless too. I'm feeling helpless too. I can and will and do take responsibility for the way I feel, because I know that I create my experience that I take as real. Thank you very much.
Well, Ray, let's just say I think you're awesome.
Thank you.
So it is actually now time for me to read our mission statement. So if you know it, I invite you to say it along with me. If not, I invite you to take it in. It goes like this. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. And so that's what we're up to here at Living Beyond Limits, is we are giving ourselves the opportunity by listening to the talks and the invocations and the music and the things that we do to recognize that that divine presence is always within us, that it is the very core essence of our spirit. It is the intelligence of God that we use as our intelligence. It is the creative force of the universe that lives within us and the good that is all around us. Because what happens when we come to recognize that all that God is within us, that all of those qualities and characteristics are within us, then we aren't reliant on the outside world to give us those things that we need, just like Ray was talking about. We can access the love or the peace or the power or the wholeness or the centeredness or whatever it is that we need from inside of ourselves. And as we access that, it changes our experience. And as we access that, then we come to the world differently, and that influences and affects every conversation and every relationship and everything that we are involved in. And as we come to the world differently and affect the situations we are in differently, those people are affected differently, and then they come to the world differently also. And because we are part of this collective consciousness of humanity also, as we awaken to our own divine nature and that presence of the infinite one within us, that it affects the whole also. It just spreads out. And so I say thank you for answering the call of your own heart and your own spirit to be walking this spiritual path, to be bringing that presence into this world that is beneficial to every single one of us. So thank you for that. And so, yes, as Ray referred to, what a week it has been. And as we have gone through this week, and American politics and the American political arena, I think it has absolutely been a call to pray and a call to center. It is so easy to get off center when things happen like what has happened this week, and to forget that we are on a spiritual path. It is so easy to get off centered when we see people behaving in ways that are destructive and in ways that are harmful, especially to things that are important to us. It's easy as humans to take sides and to make them wrong and then to want to retaliate. When in truth, what we really want is to move forward. What we really want is to create and to live in a world that works for the collective. And at the same time, there is a time for outrage and a time for anger and a time to be appalled. We feel outraged and we feel angry because we care. Because we care about this country, because we care about the people in this country and because we care about the values that we stand on as a country, and that all of those things are really important to us. We feel outraged because our own personal values, the things that we believe in, the things that we stand for, are important to us, like democracy and freedom and choice, like honor and integrity and unity and working together. Perhaps you even feel fear or feel frustration because this country seems to be broken into factions and you don't know how to fix that or resolve that. And the truth is, anger serves a purpose. Anger actually motivates us to act. It motivates us to respond. It motivates us to set firm boundaries of this is what I accept and I do not accept this. This is what I will put up with and I will not put up with this. It helps us establish and set those firm boundaries. And I know for me, when I get beneath my outrage, because I think outrage is really a thought, it's something that happens in my brain. When I get below and underneath that outrage to my feelings, I feel heartbroken and I feel sad because I love this country and because I love democracy and because I love humanity. But those strong feelings that we are each having this week, motivates us to do something different. And that's good. That anger serves a purpose, so it's good. The problem is when we get stuck in that anger, when we get stuck in the sadness, when we get stuck in the fear, because that anger and that fear and that sadness are productive when they move us forward to do something. But when we get stuck in those feelings, that is non-productive. It's non-productive unless it moves us forward into something that we want instead of what we don't want. So my question to you is, what is it that your own heart and soul want for this country? I invite you to close your eyes for a minute and to turn within and to ask your heart, to ask your own spiritual beingness, what does my heart and soul want for this country? And I invite you to open your eyes. Is it perhaps unity and brotherhood and peace? Is it perhaps abundance for all and a world that works for everyone? And so what if everything that happened this week and that has been happening for quite a time right now is actually a call to prayer? What if it is a call for you to be the change you wish to see in this world? What if it is a call for you to be love and to be compassion and to be the light? Ernest Holmes said, "If good comes in, evil goes out. It cannot help it. It cannot stay. Evil seems to try to destroy good, but it cannot." When we get stuck in our anger or in our fear, we have forgotten that we are spiritual beings. when we get stuck in our anger and our fear, we have forgotten that we are here to bring spirit into this world, and that we are here to act as a presence for good. The title of my talk today is Even Here, Even Now. Even here, even now, we are being called to live from our spirit. Even here, even now, we are being called to be the presence of love, and to be the light, and to be the change we wish to see in the world. Even this is a part of our spiritual path. And so I'm talking about the chaos that happened this week and that continues to happen, is inviting us to stand firmly in our spiritual values and our spiritual principles, to stand firmly in love and in oneness and in knowing that God is at the very center of everything that is going on. To know also that God is already expressing in this situation as wisdom and as oneness. God is already expressing itself as peace and as divine right action. We are being invited to bring our spirit and our spirituality forward. We are being invited to be the change we wish to see. Ernest Holmes said in the book, This Thing Called You, one of the most illuminating things which mysticism has revealed is that evil is not an ultimate reality. It is simply an experience of the soul on its journey toward capital R reality. Evil is not an entity, but an experience on the pathway of self-unfoldment. It is not a thing of itself, but simply a misuse of power. It will disappear when we stop looking at it or indulging in it. We cannot stop believing in it as long as we indulge in it. So the mystic has always taught us to turn from evil and to do good. We are being called to turn from evil and to do good. Just like in our own personal lives, when we recognize that the mistakes that we have made are actually taking us to greater good because we learn from them, because we choose differently, because we come to the world differently after that. Same thing with what's going on in the world right now. And these are tremendous birthing pains that we are living through right now as we give birth to something new in this world and something that is good. Ernest Holmes said, refuse to entertain images of fear. Know that good is the only power there is. Good is at the center of everything, and we are simply waking up to it and becoming it and being it in an ever greater way. In Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism, they teach the virtue of Ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence toward any living thing, toward all living things. It means causing no injury in deed, word, or thought. What if we practiced Ahimsa? What if, instead of reacting to what is happening in the world and watching the videos over and over of the violence that happened this week, or instead of reposting on Facebook all the violence that's happening, or the drama that's happening, what if instead of continuing to talk about how awful these people are or how awful it is, what if instead we turned around and faced the other direction and acted with love and acted with care and acted with concern toward everyone. The people that we agree with and the people that we don't agree with. The people that are of our political persuasion and the people that aren't of our political persuasion. What if we actually sought to understand? What if we sought to understand another person's perspective instead of just brushing them off as wrong or bad or evil? What if we sought to understand another person's perspective instead of calling them the enemy? And that doesn't mean that when you understand their perspective that they are necessarily right. And it doesn't mean that you are wrong. It doesn't even mean that you have to agree with their perspective. But what if you just sought to understand how they see things and where they're coming from? It would require for us to be open. It would require for us to stand firmly in our own spirit, to stand firmly in our own center, and to know who we are. It would require us to say things like, "So tell me what brought you to that conclusion," and really wanting to understand what brought them to that conclusion. Or it would cause us to say, what makes you see it like that? And to really want to know what makes them see it like that. I have a very good friend who is of a different political persuasion, and she and I talk about exactly that thing. What makes you see it that way? And when she explains why she's what she's for and how she sees it that way, I get it. I can totally understand why she sees it that way. It makes perfect sense. But it requires, that understanding requires us not defending our position. Instead, we have to want to understand. And in our understanding, our hearts open, even if just a little bit. In our understanding, our chests become more open, and our arms relax, and our hands become more open, and we breathe easier, and we feel more relaxed. And then our parasympathetic nervous system works better, and our bodies are in homeostasis, and then we experience greater health. And we sleep better, and we have more peace. And so I have a question for you. Have you participated in the World Peace Meditation that we do here in California at 4 a.m. on New Year's Eve? You and me being anchored in that peace, or you and me being anchored in our own wholeness, in our own spirit, being anchored in love, makes it easier and more accessible for other people to access that same energy. Also, it makes it easier for people to access those ways of being in the world because we model the behavior. And people look to others to tell them how to behave in this world. People look to others to tell them how to behave, even when it comes to things like wearing a mask, or when it comes to being kind to others, or when it comes to letting someone in your lane of traffic when you're on the freeway. People look to others to tell them how to behave in this world. Also, that energy becomes more readily accessible because people can tap into that vibration because it's greater in the world. That's why we do that meditation all at the same time across the entire world. And so I'd like to share a story about just that's out of A Daily Dose of Sanity. He says, some psychologists gave a group of crossword enthusiasts a New York Times puzzle to solve on the day it was published and tested them on their skill level. A few days later, they presented the same group with the New York Times crossword puzzle on the day after after it was published. And the results showed a 20% improvement in skill level, although the participants had never seen the puzzle. These results demonstrate the power of mass consciousness to exponentially expand results. The phenomenon has been called the watershed, the 100th monkey, or as Malcolm Gladwell describes it, the tipping point. When many people focus on an idea, their attention builds a mass pool of thought, invisible to the eye, but real nevertheless. Anyone who then aligns with that idea taps into the energy and benefits of that thought. So the people who did the crossword puzzle on the day after everyone else had done it tapped into a bank of thoughts of everyone who had solved the puzzle on the previous day. And it was easier for those who did it on day 2. This principle can work for or against you, depending on how you use it. If you tap into a field of thought that is uplifting, positive, generative, and useful, you surf on the momentum of all who have contributed to that field before you. If you tap into a field of thought that is negative, destructive, or fear-based, you inherit that entire world. My mentor, Hilda, never read a newspaper on the day it came out because the news is generally steeped in darkness and drama, and millions of people were concentrating on that idea and adding their emotion to it. A few days later, when the issue had settled down, there was a lot less energy of it in the group mind. Your attention is one of the greatest powers at your command. Use it on your behalf. The energy that we hold, the emotions and the thoughts that we hold, along with all the other people in this world who are holding similar thoughts, create that mass consciousness so that it's easier for other people to access. And I've read the same kind of studies about children learning songs that they don't know, American songs, and how much easier it is to learn, even in Japanese, than a new song that they've never learned, because there's a collective consciousness that already knows it. It becomes easier to access. I also read a story this week that was about Newark, New Jersey, that traditionally has a very high crime rate and a high violence rate. During the year 2020, not one single officer fired a bullet from their gun while on duty. And this is due to the de-escalation training that they've had. No violence or destruction occurred during the protests of George Floyd's death because the community and the people and the police work together. The police chief says, "We are building a stronger and fairer New Jersey for all." What if that caught and spread? What if understanding and openness and unity caught and spread? What if the things that have been challenging to us in this past year are really an invitation to turn away from what we don't want and to create what we do want in this world, to be what we do want? What if these things are really asking us to be who we want to be? What if they are asking us to be who we came here to be as spiritual beings when we incarnated in these bodies? But it takes being awake. It takes being conscious. And it takes choosing every single day. It takes choosing every single moment. And so my invitation to you this week is to practice Ahimsa, to refrain from adding your anger, your hatred, your animosity to this world, to refrain from adding your anger and your hatred and your animosity to this pool of energy that we all live in and that we all access. This pool of collective consciousness that affects us all. And instead, to engage your spirit and to engage your heart and to heed the invitation to be the change you wish to see. Even here, even now. Blessings to you on this path of awakening to your own spiritual magnificence, an awakening to the love that you are, an awakening, as Ray said, to this power of love and this power for good, and giving way to that in this world. For it is seeking your heart and your hands and your words. So blessings to you on this path. And so I invite you to join me in affirmative prayer. And so I turn my attention to that infinite presence, recognizing that it is everywhere present, in its fullness, in its allness, and that it is a presence of good. It is a power of love. It is the creative, dynamic force that expresses itself in and through everything that is life energy itself. And it is right now speaking to the hearts and to the minds of every single person in this country. For that presence lives within each of us. That presence buoys and carries right now each of us and wakes us up to that call of our own hearts and spirits to be a beneficial presence. Calls to our own hearts and spirits to create a world that works for the collective. It calls to our hearts and our spirits to be the presence of love and of peace and of wisdom, of wholeness, and of good. For I know that there is something stirring within every single one of us, something compelling us to evolve and to become more and more of who we really are and to express that in this world. And so I open my eyes to see that good unfolding. And I place my faith in this truth. And from here, I rest in peace. And I show up as love. And I see the good all around me. And as I see that good, I magnify it and enlarge it and bring it to life. And so I release this prayer into the creative law of the universe, knowing that it is unfolding itself simply because we have put our attention on it, we have said yes to it, and we have accepted it as so. And so I release this prayer in absolute gratitude and faith and conviction, and I say, and so it is. And so I am so grateful to have you with us here today online, and I invite you to share this video, share this link on your Facebook page, to share it with your friends, to assist each and every single one of us to being that beneficial presence and to waking up to our own spirits. And so a couple of invitations for you. One is to join us on Thursday evenings for a Zoom conference call where we do spiritual practice together and get to share in small groups about the things that are valuable and important to us and kind of who we are, and get to know each other and witness the real person inside. And it's a really lovely time. If you are not receiving our emails, you can email us at livingbeyondlimits@gmail.com, and we will make sure that you get on that email list so that you get our invitations. We are continuing to do ministry of prayer, and so if you have a prayer request and would like to be supported in prayer during the next week, you can either email us at that email address or call or text Barbara Conant or email Barbara Conant, and she will put you on the list and send that out to the practitioners and to me. We still have prayer shawls if you would like to be wrapped in that energy of prayer or know somebody who would like to be supported and wrapped in prayer like that. We have prayer shawls available to you. If you get a hold of Barbara Conant, she will get one to you, and the practitioners will pray over that for whatever the desired outcome is before they give it to you. We invite you to join our YouTube channel. It gives you a one-click to our videos, to all the videos. And last but not least, to thank you very much as we just ended this year for your ongoing support, financial support of Living Beyond Limits, for your ongoing prayers and energy and enthusiasm and thoughts of us. For all of that is enabling us to continue to thrive and to move forward into this new year and to be ready when COVID lessens up enough that we get to meet back together in person again. And so I look forward to seeing you, and I look forward to seeing you online here again next week. Lots of love to you this week, and be peace.